The penthouse stretched across Manhattan's skyline like a monument to everything Julian Hartwell had conquered. Marble floors caught the city lights 40 stories below. Custom furniture sat in perfect arrangement. Everything controlled, everything empty. Julian loosened his tie past midnight, his mind still racing with numbers that meant nothing. At 38, he'd built an empire and lost himself somewhere in the construction, in the shadows of the staff quarters. Leela Carter folded her exhausted body into the small room she called home. 6 months in this city? 6 months of being invisible? The dinner party cleanup had drained her, and she peeled off her uniform with trembling fingers. Her grandmother's medical bills back in Georgia kept her here. Kept her silent, kept her surviving. She reached for her nightshirt. Standing in her cotton slip, when the door opened, time fractured. Julian stood frozen in the doorway. Their eyes met. Leela's hands flew to cover herself, humiliation burning through her like acid. "I'm sorry," she whispered, voice breaking. "I didn't know you were there." The apology made no sense. She'd done nothing wrong, but girls like her survive by taking blame. Julian's face went pale. Horror flooded his features, not at her, but at himself. "Oh, I'm sorry," he stammered, backing away. The light was on. I'm so sorry." Silence crashed down. Leela sank onto her bed, trembling. This job was everything. If he fired her, if word spread, if anyone thought she'd been inappropriate, she'd never work again. Her grandmother needed her outside. Julian stood with his hands still on the doorknob. His pulse hammered. The image of her face, terrified and vulnerable, seared into his memory. He'd seen pure fear. He was the cause. Power didn't care about intention. He walked to his bedroom in a daze, sat on the edge of his bed, head in hands. An accident? Yes. But explanations felt hollow against her trembling hands and whispered apology. He'd built everything on logic. Emotion was weakness. After watching his mother lose everything in his parents' divorce, after seeing vulnerability destroy her, Julian had promised himself he'd never feel that pain. But tonight, alone in expensive silence, he felt smaller than he had in years. Leela lay in darkness, staring at the ceiling. Her grandmother's proud voice echoed in her memory, the nursing textbooks she'd sold. The dream of helping people instead of cleaning up after them, all of it felt impossibly far away. When dawn broke, painting the city gold and gray, neither of them had slept. Julian stood at his bedroom door, heart pounding. He had to fix this. Had to make sure she knew this wouldn't cost her everything. He walked to the staff quarters and knocked softly. "Leela, may I speak with you?" The door opened slowly. She stood there in her uniform, face carefully blank, eyes red-rimmed. "I need to apologize properly," Julian said. "What happened last night was entirely my fault. You have my word that your position here is secure. I'll make sure the agency knows you've been exemplary. You have nothing to worry about." She looked at him for a long moment, something unreadable crossing her face. "Thank you, Mr. Hartwell," she said quietly. "May I ask you something?" He nodded. Double quotes, "Why did you come to my door at all?" Julian opened his mouth to explain about the light, the electrical concern, but stopped. In her eyes, he saw something that made him tell the truth instead. "I don't know," he admitted. "I saw the light and I don't know." Leela's expression softened just slightly. "You looked lost," she said. "When you opened that door, like you'd forgotten where you were." The observation cut through him like glass. "Maybe I had," he whispered. They stood there, the space between them charged with something neither could name. The billionaire who'd forgotten how to feel, the woman who'd learned to survive by disappearing. "I'll bring your coffee in 15 minutes, Mr. Hartwell," Leela said, starting to close the door. "Julian," he said suddenly. "You can call me Julian." She paused. "That wouldn't be appropriate. Neither was last night. But here we are." Something flickered in her eyes. Fear or curiosity or something more dangerous. "Here we are," she echoed. The door closed between them, but something had shifted. Something neither of them was prepared for, and in that moment, Julian made a decision that would unravel everything he'd built. He would know her. Really know her? Not as staff. Not as invisible help. As a person, as Leela. What he didn't know was that 3 floors below, in a parked sedan with tinted windows, someone was watching, photographing, waiting, and the price of that decision would be higher than either of them could imagine. 3 weeks passed like a slow-burning fuse. Julian found himself leaving his office early, canceling evening meetings, finding reasons to be home when Leela was still working. He told himself he was just ensuring she felt comfortable, that the incident hadn't created a hostile environment. He was lying to himself. One evening, he found her in the kitchen, preparing dinner she assumed he wouldn't eat. She moved with quiet efficiency, her dark hair pulled back, exhaustion written in the set of her shoulders. "You're tired," Julian said from the doorway. She startled, nearly dropping the knife. "I'm fine, Mr. Hartwell." "Julian, still wouldn't be appropriate. Why not?" She turned to face him, and for the first time he saw a flash of something sharp beneath her careful politeness. "'Cause you own this place. You pay my salary. You hold every card, and pretending we're equals doesn't change that." The truth of it landed like a punch. "You're right," he said quietly. "I'm sorry. Stop apologizing." Her voice carried an edge now. "You're a good employer. You pay well. You don't make impossible demands. That's more than most people in your position offer. But don't pretend we're friends. What if I want to be?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Why? So you can feel better about having staff? So you can tell yourself you're different from other billionaires?" "No." He stepped into the kitchen. "Because you're the only real person I've talked to in 5 years." Leela's hands stilled on the cutting board. "You don't know me? Then let me." "Why?" "Because when you looked at me that night, you said I looked lost. No one's seen me that clearly in a decade." She studied him for a long moment, and he felt exposed under her gaze in a way that boardrooms had never managed. "My grandmother's dying," she said finally, voice flat. "Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. I send her every penny I can save, but it won't matter. She has maybe 6 months. I'm here instead of with her because the hospice care costs more than I made in a year back home. That's who I am, a granddaughter who chose money over time. So if you want to know me, know that." The words hung between them like a confession and an accusation. "I'm sorry," Julian said. And this time, she didn't tell him to stop. "Everyone's sorry," she whispered. "Sorry doesn't change anything." "What would?" "Nothing. That's the point. Some things can't be fixed, can't be bought, can't be controlled." She met his eyes. "That's what people like you never understand. Not everything bends to money and power, you're right." He moved closer. "But time does. Take the time off. Go see her. I'll cover everything. The flights, the hospice care, whatever she needs." Leela's eyes widened. "Why would you do that?" "Because you're right about something else, too. I am trying to feel less empty. And maybe that's selfish. Maybe that makes me the same as everyone else in my position. But I'm offering anyway." She shook her head slowly. "I can't accept that." "Why not?" "Because nothing's free. Especially not from men like you." Her voice turned cold. "I've seen how this works. You do something generous, and then I owe you. And eventually you collect." The accusation stung because part of him wondered if she was right. Was he that person? Had he become his father without realizing it? "I don't want anything from you," he said. "Everyone wants something. Maybe I just want to matter. To someone, to anyone." The admission came out raw, unplanned. "I have everything, Leela, and it means nothing. Nothing touches me anymore. Not success, not failure, not joy, not pain. I'm just empty. But when you talk to me like this, like I'm not just the penthouse and the money and the power, I feel something. Even if it's anger, even if it's contempt, it's real." Lila's expression cracked, just for a second. "You want to feel real? Try being powerless. Try watching someone you love die because you can't afford to save them. Try being invisible every single day. That's real." Then teach me, Julian said. Show me what that's like. Let me understand. You can't buy understanding. I'm not trying to buy it. I'm asking for it, please. They stood in the kitchen's warm light, the smell of herbs and wine sauce filling the air. Two people from completely different worlds standing on the edge of something dangerous. One dinner, Leela said finally. You want to know me? Fine, but we eat what I eat. Not your expensive steaks. My food, from my world. And you tell me something real too. Something that costs you. Julia nodded. Deal? She turned back to the stove, and he saw her hands trembling slightly. My mother tried to kill herself, he said quietly. After the divorce, after my father took everything, I was 12. I found her in the bathtub. That's when I decided that feelings were poison, that caring about anything was weakness, that the only safety was in control. Leela's shoulders tensed. She didn't turn around. I haven't told anyone that, he continued. Not therapists. Not friends. No one. Why tell me? Because you asked for something real. That's the realest thing I have. She finally turned and her eyes were wet. I'm sorry that happened to you. Everyone's sorry? He echoed her earlier words. Sorry doesn't change anything. Oh, she agreed softly. But maybe knowing someone sees you does. They ate dinner together that night at the kitchen counter, not the dining room. She made collard greens and cornbread from her grandmother's recipe. They talked about Georgia and Manhattan, about the things they'd lost and the things they were afraid to want. And when Julian laughed at something she said, really laughed, he realized it had been years since he'd made that sound. But in the sedan 3 floors below, the man with the camera captured every moment through the kitchen window, and he smiled as he dialed a number. It's happening, he said. Just like you predicted. He's falling for her. The voice on the other end was cold and satisfied. Perfect. Make sure you document everything. When the time comes, we'll destroy them both. The line went dead and upstairs. Unaware of the trap closing around them, Julian and Leela talked until dawn broke over the city. Two lonely people, finding something neither had, expected something that felt dangerously close to hope. 2 months after that first dinner, everything changed. Julian had flown Leela to Georgia 3 times to see her grandmother. He'd paid for round-the-clock hospice care. He'd stopped calling her his employee and started calling her his friend. And somewhere in the space between those words, they'd both fallen into something neither could name, but both desperately needed. They hadn't crossed any lines, not physically. But the way they looked at each other carried weight. The way she touched his hand when he looked lost. The way he said her name like a prayer. It was dangerous. It was inevitable. One night after another, late conversation on the penthouse balcony with the city glittering below. Julian turned to her. I need to tell you something, he said. That sounds ominous. I'm falling in love with you. The words came out steady, certain. I know I shouldn't. I know the power dynamic makes it complicated. I know you have every reason not to trust this. But I need you to know that what I feel for you is the most real thing in my life. Leela's breath caught. Fear and longing warred across her face. His phone rang. He glanced at it, about to dismiss the call, but the name on the screen made him freeze. I have to take this, he said. It's my lawyer. Emergency only line. He stepped inside and Leela heard his voice through the glass, watched his body language shift from soft to rigid. When he came back out, his face was ashen. What's wrong? She asked. They're photos, he said quietly. Of us. Hundreds of them. Someone's been watching. Following. Photos of what? We haven't done anything wrong. That won't matter. They're going to the press. My lawyer just got a call from a tabloid. They're running a story tomorrow. Billionaire's secret affair with live-in Maid. They have photos that look intimate. Us talking late at night. Me touching your hand. You crying on my shoulder when your grandmother called, but those moments weren't, I know. But they'll make them look like whatever sells papers. This will destroy your reputation. The agency will blacklist you. Other employers will see you as... God, Leela, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. She shook her head. We didn't do anything wrong. Doesn't matter. Not in my world, he paced, mind racing. My lawyer says there's only one way to stop this. We pay them off. Kill the story. But they want proof. We're not having an affair. What kind of proof? Julian's jaw tightened. They want me to fire you immediately. Have you signed an NDA? Make a statement that you were terminated for overstepping professional boundaries. Leela felt the ground shift beneath her. That would make me look like I seduced you. Like I was inappropriate.
I know.
I told him, absolutely not. We'll fight this another way. What other way? Julian's silence was answer enough. There isn't one, is there? Leela's voice went flat. Either I take the blame, or we both burn. I won't let you do that. You don't have a choice. If this goes public, I lose everything anyway. At least this way I get a severance payment. A reference letter before the NDA kicks in. Leela, no, how much? She cut him off. How much are they offering? Julian's face twisted. 200,000, plus a reference letter that says you resigned for personal reasons. That's enough to pay off my grandmother's medical bills. To cover her funeral when the time comes, her voice cracked. To maybe start over somewhere new. I can give you that money. You don't have to take the blame for something we didn't do. And then what? I stay here. Keep working for you? Keep pretending we're just friends while cameras follow us everywhere? She laughed bitterly. You were right. Some things can't be fixed. Can't be bought. Can't be controlled. I love you, Julian said desperately. Doesn't that matter? Of course it matters. Tears streamed down her face now. But love doesn't pay for hospice care. Love doesn't erase power dynamics. Love doesn't change the fact that you're Julian Hartwell and I'm the girl who cleans your floors. You're so much more than that. To you, maybe, but not to the world. Not to the people who will read that story and decide I'm just another gold digger who tried to trap a billionaire. She wiped her eyes. I'll take the deal. I'll sign the NDA. I'll say I overstepped. It's the cleanest way out for both of us. I won't let you sacrifice yourself for me. You don't get to decide that. Her voice turned hard. This is my choice, my life. Maybe the only choice I get to make in this whole mess. They stood there, the city lights blurring through their tears. Two people who'd found something real in a world built on appearances. When do I leave? Leela asked. Tomorrow morning. The lawyer needs the signed documents by noon, and I should pack. She turned to go inside, and Julian caught her hand. Wait, please, give me 24 hours. Let me find another way. There isn't another way. Maybe there is. His grip tightened. What if we make it real? What if instead of denying everything, we confirm it? Tell the world we're together. That this is real, not some sordid affair. Leela stared at him. Are you insane? That would make it worse. They'd destroy me. Say I manipulated you. Your board would lose their minds. Your business partners would. I don't care. Yes, you do. You care about your company. About everything you built. I won't let you throw that away from me. Why not? You're throwing away your dignity for me? That's different. Because I have nothing to lose. You have everything. Julian pulled her close, his forehead against hers. You're wrong. If I lose you, I lose everything that matters. She closed her eyes, breathing him in, memorizing the moment. That's the difference between us. You think love is everything? I know it's not enough. Inside the penthouse, Julian's phone buzzed with a text from his lawyer. Decision needed by midnight. Clock's ticking. But neither of them moved to check it. Because in 6 hours, everything would change again. The man with the camera wasn't working for a tabloid. He was working for Julian's business rival, Marcus Chen, who'd been trying to tank Julian's upcoming merger for months. The photos weren't going to the press. They were going to Julian's board of directors, with a fabricated story about embezzlement and blackmail, designed to force Julian out of his own company, and Leela's signature. On that NDA would be the final piece of evidence they needed. But Julian didn't know that yet, neither. Did Leela? They only had 6 hours to figure it out, and the real betrayal was still to come. At 3 a.m., Julian's phone rang again. Not his lawyer this time. His head of security? "We have a problem," the voice said. "Big one. You need to see this now." 20 minutes later, Julian sat in his home office, watching security footage on his computer. Leela stood behind him, her hand on his shoulder. The footage showed the man with the camera. But it also showed him entering Julian's building 4 months ago, using a security badge belonging to Marcus Chin's company. Chin, Julian breathed. This was never about tabloids. The security chief nodded grimly. "We ran his face through our database. He's a private investigator. Works exclusively for corporate espionage cases. We found the sedan he's been using. Traced the registration to a shell company owned by Chen's firm." "But why?" Leela asked. "What does this have to do with me?" Julian's face went white as the pieces clicked together. "The merger. Chen's been trying to block my acquisition of DataStream Technologies for 6 months. If he can get me removed from the company before the deal closes, he takes over," the security chief finished. "Your board's been nervous about your leadership style. Too much control, not enough delegation. All he needs is evidence of erratic behavior, poor judgment, anything that suggests you're compromised. And a secret relationship with staff would do that," Leela whispered. "Especially if there were financial irregularities." Julian spun to face her. "What financial irregularities?" She pulled out her phone, hands shaking. "I got an email an hour ago, from a bank I don't recognize, saying a deposit of $50,000 was made to my account 6 weeks ago. From your company's payroll system? I didn't authorize that." "I know. But the email has documentation, transfer records, all with your digital signature." Julian grabbed his own phone, pulling up his company accounts. His face went from white to gray. "There are more. Transfers to your account going back 3 months, totaling $300,000. All with my authorization. But you didn't. Chen forged them." Julian's voice turned cold, the businessman emerging from beneath the emotion. "He's been building a case. Romance with staff. Financial impropriety. Embezzlement charges against you that implicate me. The NDA I was supposed to have you sign would look like hush money. Evidence suppression." "The board meeting," Leela said suddenly. "Your lawyer mentioned it earlier." "When is it?" "Tomorrow. 10 a.m., they're voting on the merger. And apparently based on this, they're also voting on my future with the company." The security chief cleared his throat. "There's more. Chen leaked the photos to 3 board members already. They think you've been compromised. That Ms. Carter has been blackmailing you? The fabricated transfers support that narrative." Leela sank into a chair. "He played us perfectly. If I leave quietly, it looks like you paid me off. If I stay, it looks like I'm still blackmailing you. Either way, you lose the company." "And Chen wins," Julian finished bitterly. They sat in silence, the weight of the trap closing around them. "There's one option," the security chief said carefully. "We go public first. Hold a press conference before the board meeting. Expose Chen's operation. Show the evidence of corporate espionage." "That would work," Julian said slowly. "Except it would destroy Chen's life, his company. Everything he's built, he was willing to destroy you." "I know." Julian looked at Leela. "But it would also make everything public. Your name, your face, your grandmother's illness. Every private moment we've shared would be dissected by the media. You'd never have a normal life again." Leela's hands twisted together. "What's the alternative?" "I step down," Julian said quietly. "Resign before the board can vote. Sell my shares to Chen at a loss. Let him have it all. You disappear. I make sure you have enough money to take care of your grandmother and start over somewhere quiet. Somewhere no one knows your name. You'd give up everything you built. I already told you. If I lose you, I lose everything that matters." "That's not fair," she whispered. "You can't make me responsible for that choice." "I'm not. I'm making it myself." The security chief stood. "I'll give you 2 some time to decide. but you have 4 hours before Chen makes his move. After that, the choice won't be yours anymore." He left. Closing the door softly, Julian and Leela sat in the dimly lit office. The city beginning to wake up outside the windows? "There's a third option," Leela said finally. "What?" I turned myself in. "Tell the board I was blackmailing you. That I fabricated the transfers. That everything was my idea. Absolutely not. Listen to me." She grabbed his hands. "If I confess, they'll prosecute me. I'll probably go to prison. But you keep the company. The merger goes through. Chen loses. And when I get out, maybe 2 or 3 years from now, I'll have paid my debt. I can start clean. You're talking about throwing away years of your life for something you didn't do? And you're talking about throwing away everything you built. At least my way, one of us wins. This isn't winning, Leela. This is you sacrificing yourself again. Just like you were going to with the NDA, just like you've been doing your whole life, putting everyone else first. Maybe that's who I am." "No."
"Oh."
Julian's voice turned fierce. "You're the woman who left home to save her grandmother, who works herself to exhaustion every day, who sees people, really sees them, when everyone else looks through them. You're the person who taught me how to feel again. You're not a sacrifice. You're not a pawn in Chen's game. You're Leela, and you matter more than any company, any merger, any amount of money." Tears streamed down her face. "I don't know how to let someone fight for me. I've never had that. Then learn. Starting now." He stood, pulling her up with him. "We fight this together. Not by destroying ourselves, not by giving Chen what he wants, but by being exactly what he didn't count on. What's that? Honest. We tell the truth. All of it. To the board, to the press, to everyone. Yes, I have feelings for you. Yes, I helped your grandmother. Yes, we spent time together. But we didn't do anything wrong. We didn't embezzle. We didn't blackmail. We just fell in love. In a world that made that complicated, we fell in love anyway. Ow. They'll still judge us. Probably. But at least it'll be for the truth, not Chun's lies." Leela looked at him for a long moment, and something shifted in her eyes. Fear transforming into something harder. Something that looked almost like courage. "Okay," she said. "We fight together?" Together, they spent the next 3 hours preparing documents, testimony, evidence of Chen's espionage. A statement that was raw and honest and terrifying. At 9 a.m., they walked into Hartwell Digital Solutions headquarters hand in hand. The board members were already gathering. Chen was there too. Confident smile on his face, certain of his victory. Julian looked at Leela one more time. "Last chance to walk away." "Not a chance," she said. They entered the boardroom, and the real battle began. The boardroom fell silent as Julian and Leela entered. Marcus Chen's smile faltered. He hadn't expected her to be there. "Gentlemen," Julian began, his voice steady. "Before you vote, there's something you need to hear." For the next hour, they laid it out. The surveillance. The forged documents. Chun's corporate espionage. The private investigators' employment records. Every piece of evidence their security chief had gathered. But more than that, they told the truth. Julian said, looking at each board member in turn. "I have feelings for Leela. Yes, I helped her grandmother. Yes, I let someone matter to me in a way that made me vulnerable. And Marcus Chen exploited that vulnerability to try to take this company." Chen stood abruptly. "This is ridiculous. He's spinning a romance to cover financial impropriety. The transfers were faked." Leela cut in, her voice clear and strong. "We have the original code from your investigator's laptop. He hacked Hartwell's payroll system using credentials stolen from this building. The metadata proves it." The board members exchanged glances. "But even if they weren't faked," Leela continued, "even if Julian had given me that money freely, that's not illegal. Unethical, maybe, given our positions. But not criminal. What is criminal is corporate espionage, breaking and entering. Fraud." Chen's face went red. "You have no proof I authorize any. We have recordings," Julian said quietly. My security system covers the entire building, including the phone call you made to your investigator 4 months ago right here in our lobby. The one where you explicitly ordered him to build a case that would destroy Hartwell's credibility with the board. The color drained from Chen's face. So here's what's going to happen, Julian continued. You're going to leave this building. You're going to drop your opposition to the merger. And you're going to be grateful I'm not pressing charges. Because if I do, you'll lose more than a business opportunity. You'll lose everything. Chen looked around the table, seeing his defeat in every face. Without a word, he grabbed his briefcase and left. The door closed behind him. As for the rest, Julian said, turning back to the board, I understand if this situation makes you uncomfortable. If you want my resignation, you'll have it. But you should know that Leela and I are together. Really together. And I'm not apologizing for that. I'm not hiding it. If that's incompatible with leading this company, then I'll step aside. But I won't pretend she doesn't exist. I won't make her invisible to satisfy anyone's sense of propriety. The chairman, a silver-haired man named Richard Warren, leaned back in his chair. Julian, he said slowly, in the 20 years I've known you, I've watched you build this company into something extraordinary. But I've also watched you become more isolated, more disconnected, frankly, more ruthless. He glanced at Leela. In the last 2 months, I've seen more humanity from you than in the previous 5 years combined. Better judgment, better instincts, better leadership. Julian blinked, surprised. We're not voting you out, Warren continued. We're approving the merger. And we're trusting you to navigate your personal life with the same intelligence you bring to business. That said, Miss Carter should no longer be employed by you directly. For both your sakes. We'll help her find a position elsewhere if she wants one. Or we'll provide references if she chooses to pursue her nursing degree, which I understand was her original goal. Leela's eyes widened. I thank you. Don't thank me yet, Warren said with a slight smile. Dating the CEO of a major tech company comes with its own challenges. I hope you're ready for that. She looked at Julian, and something passed between them. Something that had been building for months. I'm ready, she said. The vote was unanimous. The merger approved. Julian's position secured. But as they left the building an hour later, Julian's phone rang. It was a Georgia number. Leela's face went white. She knew before she answered. This is Fayetteville Hospice, the voice said gently. I'm so sorry, but your grandmother passed away 20 minutes ago. Peacefully, in her sleep. She wasn't in any pain. Lila's knees buckled. Julian caught her, held her as the phone slipped from her fingers. No, she whispered. No, I was supposed to. I was supposed to see her one more time. I was supposed to say goodbye. Julian guided her to a bench outside the building, held her while she shattered. I chose wrong, she sobbed. I should have left yesterday. Should have gone home. I was here fighting for us, and she died alone. She wasn't alone, Julian said softly. The hospice staff was with her, and she knew you loved her. She knew everything you sacrificed for her. It wasn't enough. I wasn't there, no, but you were living. You were fighting for something real. She would have wanted that. Leela cried until she had nothing left, and Julian held her through all of it. 6 months later, he stood in a small church in rural Georgia, not for a funeral. That had been in the spring. With Leela's whole hometown gathered to remember a woman who'd raised her granddaughter with fierce love and limited means, this was different, Leela Carter, Julian said. His voice thick with emotion. You taught me that control isn't strength. That vulnerability isn't weakness. That love, real love, is worth every risk. Will you marry me? She looked at the ring in his hands, simple and perfect. Yes, she whispered. They married in that church, with its peeling paint and worn pews. Not in Manhattan. Not in some luxury venue. Here, where Leela's grandmother was buried under an oak tree, where her story began. Julian had sold the penthouse, downsized to something human-sized. Leela had enrolled in nursing school, refusing to let her dream die with her grandmother. They weren't perfect. The age difference raised eyebrows. The power dynamic made people uncomfortable. Tabloids still wrote stories questioning whether it was real or calculated. But every morning, when Julian woke up next to Leela, he felt something he thought was impossible. He felt alive. And Leela, who'd spent years making herself invisible, finally felt seen. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked him one night, curled against his chest in their new apartment. "Giving up the penthouse? The control? The distance from everything?" "Every single day," Julian said honestly. She pulled back to look at him, hurt flickering across her face. "And then I look at you," he continued, "and I remember that everything I gave up was just expensive emptiness. This is real." She kissed him then, soft and slow. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too." Outside, the city hummed. Inside, two broken people held each other, their scars visible, their love imperfect, their future uncertain, but they were alive, really truly alive. And sometimes, that was enough sometimes. That was everything, the end.